that was fighting for gay rights, and people were killed.
Nobody was killed at Stonewall.
Nobody was killed.
So season 18 has started, and the question on everybody's mind is the season good or bad? At the time this video is being made, only the first 4 episodes have been released. I'm going to be talking off the cuff in this video, so hopefully you enjoyed the change of pace. But before we start, this video is sponsored by ZocDoc. I think this is one of those things that a lot of us put off way longer than we should, and that's booking doctor's appointments. For me, it's usually not that I don't want to go, it's that the whole process feels annoying. It's enough to make you say, I'll deal with it later, and then later just never comes. ZocDoc has been really helpful because it removes most of that friction. It's a free app and website where you can find and book in-network doctors, and you can actually see real availability before you book. No phone calls, no waiting for someone to call you back, no guessing. You can search by specialty or even by symptoms, read verified patient reviews, and get a sense of who the doctor actually is before committing. I like being able to tell if someone's straightforward, calm, or just not big on awkward small talk. They've got over 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering more than 200 specialties, and you can book either in-person appointments or video visits depending on what you need. Most appointments booked through ZocDoc happen pretty fast, and sometimes even the same day, which makes it way harder to keep procrastinating once you see an opening that works. So if you've been putting off an appointment, stop delaying it and go to ZocDoc.com/GreenGay to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/GreenGay. Now let's begin. The premiere of season 18 was a nice switch in format. The last couple of years, we've gotten accustomed to the talent show being the center of attention paired up with the double premiere. Instead of doing that, they went back to their roots and had the premiere be a standalone episode with a sewing/design challenge. This was a great move. Yeah, sure, maybe on paper a talent show will offer more chances of viral moments online, but at the same time, keeping contestants and viewers on their toes is very important. So forcing the entire cast to prove that they are resourceful and can pull together a look makes you appreciate the queens that have that design skill, more so than just the natural ability to perform. Speaking of performances though, one thing that's been a bit of a disappointment have been the lip syncs. The premiere episode was probably the biggest letdown. When you have an A-list guest like Cardi B, you're gonna want the queens that end up performing to really put on a show. Instead, both Vida Von Teese and Nini Coco didn't do the worst job, but it was, for a lack of a better term, a pretty mid performance. Not bad, but also not good, and definitely not memorable at all. It's interesting because they actually had the chance to really knock it out of the park. If instead of doing a top 2 lip sync for the win, they had done a bottom 2 lip sync for your life, it would have resulted in Juicy Love Dion demolishing the stage. She even uploaded on her social media what she would have done had she ended up having to perform that song, and it would have been nice to see it happen on the main stage, considering that the episode ended in a non-elimination anyway. Regardless, the first episode wasn't bad. It was serviceable, and the cast felt really evenly matched. Now, when it comes to the problems with season 18, it's actually less to do with the episodes themselves and more to do with the way World of Wonder has been handling everything outside of it. Let's start with the most pressing matter, the pit stop. Look, if you're a fan of my channel, you'll already know that I've done 2 videos about all the data when it comes to viewership averages, most successful host and guest, etc. The first one was just a general synopsis of the interesting analytical data about the pit stop, while my second one, and most recent, spoke about the sudden crash in views that was seen last year with the reviews of season 17 and All Stars 10. What we were left with was a lot of pressure on season 18's pit stop. It was essentially going to be the moment of truth. Is the pit stop done for good? Or could it be saved? Well, Bianca Del Rio was chosen to be the host for season 18. I'll admit, I was a little bit shocked about this decision. Don't get me wrong, Bianca is a great personality to have as a host, but in my opinion, given the drastic decrease in average viewership, they should have gone big to really assure a proper turnout. There was 2 options for me. One was to completely go outside of the box and select a queen that had never hosted the pit stop come and do it. Some options could have been, let's say, Thorgy Thor, Mistress Isabel Brooks, or Corey King, just to refresh the overall vibe of the show. Yet this would have involved taking a chance/risk. That's why, if it was gonna come down to selecting from the existing pool of hosts, my bet was that it would have had to have been between Trixie Mattel or Bob the Drag Queen. Trixie for obvious reasons, given that she's by a long shot the host that's ranked the highest in terms of views. But then for Bob the Drag Queen, she just has that energy about her that goes beyond just a queen doing her hosting duties and actually translating into a charismatic review show where everything she says feels genuine. All that being said, the choice to go with Bianca Del Rio was still a safe bet. Bianca, while not the biggest fan of the series overall, is excellent at doing her job. And if anything, this season proved it. Which brings us to the bigger issue at hand. We've now had 4 episodes of The Pit Stop, but the reception has been, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, horrible. First off, the premiere episode, which is arguably the most important one, had such a random choice for a guest. Picture it this way. You want to make sure that the first episode of a season's review show is nothing short of a hit. A guest like Plastique Tiara makes more sense if, let's say, it's around the midway point of the season. But for the premiere episode, really? But sure, Plastique, while random, was easy to let slide because, hey, it wasn't the worst thing to watch, but it also wasn't the highest caliber of entertainment that we've gotten accustomed to. Unfortunately, things only got worse the very next week, when for episode 2, we had Marsha make her debut, that went on to become one of the worst received guests in the history of The Pit Stop, with many people calling the episode unwatchable. I mean, you can easily go to the comments section and see how upset people were about it. I want to just take a moment to say that this isn't a critique on Marsha or any guest for that matter. It's more so a critique on the production behind The Pit Stop itself. Because at this point, it does feel like a complete joke the way they've organized the season. First off, you just experienced one of the worst turnouts in viewerships last year, which was a historic low out of the 10 years of The Pit Stop's evolution, largely due to the fact that the episodes were not entertaining at all. The selection of guests was oftentimes super boring, and the chemistry with the host was non-existent. The answer was pretty simple. Get a host that can at least come across as genuine. Second, bring in guests that have an established history of being great commentators, and overall just queens that people actually want to see. Once it was decided that Bianca Del Rio would be hosting, why didn't the guest lineup reflect people that would give the same energy? Imagine, for example, if they invited Thorgy Thor for the premiere episode. That's a queen that has an established chemistry with Bianca and would create some very memorable moments. Or even beyond that, have queens that you know will have no issue voicing their opinions, like Plain Jane, Mistress Isabel Brooks, Corey King, Gia Gunn, or if you want to go the fun route, go with Jada Essence Hall, Detox, Bob the Drag Queen. MIB actually spoke on this in her Patreon, where she mentioned that production didn't even bother to reach out to her to be a guest on this season, even though she's actually really interested in doing it. But the reason they haven't, presumably, is because they don't want to invite queens that already have established platforms outside of The Pit Stop, because it'll be harder for them to control the narrative. To me, this is an example of production shooting themselves in the foot and causing the decay of the ecosystem they've built outside of the series to accelerate quickly. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know that if you invite queens that are actually currently popular within the fanbase, that it'll translate to larger turnouts and views. Regardless, they actively chose not to listen to the feedback from the fanbase, and clearly are acting based on what their own internal groups are thinking, and that's it, even if it results in viewership going down. Although, even beyond The Pit Stop, we've seen how other after shows like Roscoe's Viewing Party, which has become part of Drag Race's ecosystem for years now, has slowly started to get policed by World of Wonder. There was reports that for the past couple of weeks, some producers from the series have showed up to Roscoe's to see the viewing parties live, which inadvertently puts pressure on the current season queens to not spill too much tea, because the people they are quote trash talking are now sitting right in front of them. That to me is an overstepping of a boundary that just doesn't feel very beneficial to anyone. Part of what made Roscoe's Viewing Party so popular was that the queens used it as a platform to vent their true perspective on the filming of the episodes. Yet as Roscoe's became more popular, it started to get stale. That's actually why I was pleasantly surprised to see that another bar in the United States has started to do their own viewing parties with the exact same format. It's called Scorpio's Viewing Party, and it's the most refreshing thing that I've seen in a while. You can tell that because they are in the beginning stages of producing their own little YouTube show, that the weekly Rupaul guests are a lot more unfiltered. Along with that, there's a different set of hosts for this bar, and they're all pretty decent. So I recommend you guys go check out Scorpio's Viewing Party. It'll be linked below. Beyond the after shows though, when we look at the first 4 episodes of season 18 on its own, while I wasn't particularly moved by the first 2 episodes, it started to pick up the pace in terms of entertainment for the last 2 weeks. While the cast is very evenly matched, there isn't any big storyline that has particularly drawn me like we've seen in the past couple editions. I do have to say that it was kind of sad to see Briar Blush go home so early, because while I didn't peg her as someone that would make it far, she added so much value to the entertainment of the episodes. We always need that one queen that isn't afraid to ruffle people's feathers and get conflict in the room going. And that's exactly what she did. So my only hope with her departure is that the rest of the cast is able to not shy away to confront each other and give us the classic TV drama that every season of Drag Race needs. Another area that comes to mind is the pre-season Meet the Queens content. A change that I'd like to see happen next year is for World of Wonder to take advantage of all the existing successful and popular alumni that they have at their disposal and hire them to partake in pre-season promo rollout. If they had, for example, queens come in to help interview the new Ru Girls in these segments, it would allow for them to not give the same boring answers that queens usually say every year, and help them loosen up a lot more. Essentially, the major problems that the new seasons are facing, and in this case season 18, is not to do with the sets of episodes themselves, but more so with the amount of support available from production in the ecosystem that exists outside of it. What World of Wonder needs to stop doing is being so extremely guarded about everything, and let loose a little bit. What we're seeing right now is the result of World of Wonder being built on the same core team that's remained the same for the past 20 years. And because they don't have fresh minds, they're falling behind and ignoring the fan base's opinions in the process. Anyway, this was just a quick off-the-cuff video to say my general thoughts on season 18. I'll have my usual video at the very end of the season that goes more in detail about everything that's transpired, along with all the positives and negatives, etc. And as for the pit stop, we will give it at least till the end of 2026 before I do another data analysis video. But as always, thank you all for the support, and I'm very excited for the content I'll be sharing with you all in the year 2026. I love you all. Bye. So if you've been putting off an appointment, stop delaying it and go to ZocDoc.com/GreenGay to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/GreenGay.